Welcome to Simply Trade Tips. We're here with Hammer and Heels, Julie Parks, Renee Julie, and we're on series 2, which is career. And today, I think we're on episode 4, Jules.
Yes, episode 4.
What are we going to talk about today?
So let's recap. I think episode 1, we talked about career options. Episode 2, we talked about leadership. We also, in episode 3, talked about managing up. I think we need to get deep on self-branding. What do you think?
I love it. That's very important. Branding our personal self and our teams.
Right. Why is it important? Let's talk about that.
So, I think it's important to elevate yourself, your department. You're creating an image of trust and integrity, especially in a compliance field. So, you don't want someone like I think I told you, Julie, hey, I'm on LinkedIn and I'm out drinking and partying at the, maybe that's not the best brand for me. So we want to create an image.
I think it does a great job to, if you can't speak for yourself and your department in a succinct way, who else is going to? Right. So you're the one that needs to put the department out there and the requirements out there and who you are and what you do in a really imaginative way. So I think we did cover some of this in series 1, episode 1 of the networking. We also covered it in episode 4 of series 1 and managing the chaos. So you guys can refer back to those, but we're going to go deeper in this segment. So I think there's kind of 4 steps that Renee and I talked about in kind of branding, right? So I think the first thing we discussed, Renee, was kind of getting into who are you or who is your department. So share a little bit about how we were thinking about that.
I think we were thinking, hey, do you have some authenticity? What do you stand for? What's your risk profile? Do you do community involvement? I mean, all these things are important to who you are personally, because then that sets you up for the next questions we're going to have. Number 1, like, what do you do? What is your job? What is your scope? So who are you? Next is, what do you do and what is your trade job?
Right. And I think that you'll find that there's only one you. So if you wanted to even differentiate yourself from some of the other trade professionals, say for a role or something like that, you are going to come out with things that are different for yourself and your background. For example, when Renee talked about that second point, it's, are you doing import? Are you doing export? Are you doing both? Are you doing only compliance and operations, or just operations? So that's kind of what we're kind of saying, is to think about the things like maybe efficiencies, like who you are. And then maybe the next thing is, look, you build efficiency into every piece of the operation. And maybe you've touched them all: import, export, compliance, and operations. So you want to jot that down and think about that scope too. I also think maybe, Renee, point 3 is like, who are you doing this work for? Because I think it's relevant, like the types of industries. What other thoughts on?
So are you working for an importer, an exporter, a multinational company, small, mid-size, freight forwarder, customs broker? Are you in the supply chain? So there's a lot of things like, who do you do this work for? You might do it for yourself. Maybe you're a consultant.
I'll share too that when I was looking at kind of updating my background, it became really interesting when I thought about the companies that I work for in terms of their revenues. So it was very interesting when you put those revenues down, when you're talking about the industries and you're talking about the revenues that they make. The larger the company, perhaps the more complex the trade operation is generally. So that's also something else to jot down.
Yeah. And then how do you operate? What makes you passionate about your role? That's our 4th question. So, Julie, what makes you passionate about your roles?
I love taking the more complex, and you can see in my career, I've moved into more and more complex environments. I really like taking that complexity and kind of turning it into efficiency for the company, kind of promoting the bottom line. And it's kind of at all costs. Like, I really am thinking about that when maybe not everybody in the room might be. So I did find that that's kind of what differentiates myself from others.
And then, let's give a couple examples. I can give a business example for branding for maybe your team. For one good example would be, we are a solution provider to make business happen, maybe compliantly. You could add compliant in there. And another thing Julie and I talked about is using, AI to help you. So Julie, do you have a personal branding example?
Yes. And in my journey, I did leverage a little bit of AI and a little bit of kind of what I had that I thought was amazing. But I will tell you guys, when you put things into these AI tools, what it comes back with is kind of, oh gosh, that's me. So my brand is turning global trade complexity into a strategic advantage from borders to bottom line. So focus in on that bottom line, focusing in on the benefit to the company that the compliant global trade organization can do are the things that I wanted to hone in on for myself.
I love it. It sounds like you answered all our 4 questions.
I had to, really. I had to go through all of them because it gives you that good backdrop. And you start with a real clunky kind of parsed together phrase. And then if you put it into AI and you really talk about a personal branding statement, they will come back with some pretty interesting options that you can select from.
And what is our FIO? Julie Parks, figure it out for our...
I think folks need to answer their branding questions, right? So from either your personal, and this also works for your department's point of view, as Renee mentioned with her example, but take a moment and try to walk through this for yourself. And I will say it's even more important if you haven't done it in a while, given all the focus that's been on trade, to kind of do that for yourself and just take a pause, hit the pause button and get your branding in order for yourself and for your organization.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for all the tips, and go to our community, please. Trade Geeks. Tell us how you're doing. Did you answer all the questions for your brand? And if you did, tell us your brand. All right. See you next time. Thanks, Jules.
Take care.